Good morning, it's May 10th, and this is to my liberal friends. What happens when Democrats realize they've been on the wrong side of a major issue and they're losing votes over it? Well, they panic. They try to pretend they've been on the right side all along. And the issue I'm talking about is immigration and border security. Now, it's no secret that since Biden took office, the number of illegal crossings on our southern border has ballooned out of control. Estimates are that over 8 million people have entered the United States illegally, and some say it's up to 10 million, and that's since Biden took office. And it's not just immigrants from Mexico and other Latin American countries. It's from people all over the world. They fly into either Mexico or some Central American country and begin the trek north. In California, they're seeing thousands of Chinese immigrants crossing, and the bulk of these illegal immigrants are young men. They've been coached to say they're seeking asylum, but in reality, they're pouring across the border for pure economic reasons. They've been led to believe that if they get here, there will be jobs waiting for them. Now, I understand this mindset, but the fact is the United States cannot absorb every person that thinks they have a better economic future here as opposed to their own country. Crime has also increased with this massive influx of immigrants. Being perfectly honest, the vast majority are not criminals, but there's a large number that are, and they've brought gang violence to the criminal behavior of many American cities. For years, this was viewed as a border state problem, and cities run by liberal Democrats declared themselves sanctuary cities and states. And that meant they would not cooperate with federal immigration authorities and offered immigrants, even those convicted of crimes, a safe haven from being deported. But that began to change with a few factors. First, the Biden administration started transporting immigrants in the dead of night to cities in the north. Then the governors of these border states, particularly Governor Abbott of Texas and Governor DeSantis of Florida, started putting immigrants on buses and sending them to places like Chicago, New York, Denver, and other so-called sanctuary cities. And the immigrants themselves are getting aggressive as they demand that these cities take better care of them. In Denver, it's straining the budget, and the city is having to make cuts as the cost of caring for immigrants keeps rising. Now these immigrants are making demands. That's right, they're making demands. They want to be able to cook their own food and have the city provide them with fresh food that's culturally appropriate. They want medical care, including specialty care. They want housing provided to them. And they're demanding they be given work permits. And they object to any police presence where they are living. They want transportation provided to take their children to and from school. Wow, they're making demands and they're here illegally. Similar things are occurring in other cities where the immigrants have settled in and are now demanding increased support and benefits. In California, the cost for carrying them has increased over $22 billion. In New York, it's cost taxpayers over $7 billion. Florida is over $6 billion, and Texas has exceeded $10 billion. And the residents of these states and cities are starting to rebel against these expenditures because it comes as a reduction in services provided to them. Since it's an election year, Democrats are getting worried. Polling shows about 2/3 of the nation disapprove of how Biden's handled the border. And now Biden's proposing that the United States start bringing in Palestinian refugees to the United States. Wow, that's what we need. More Hamas people here. And that's put several vulnerable Democrats in a bind. Montana Senator John Tester, long a supporter of Biden, now finds himself in a tough race, and he stated, "I've been clear that allowing anyone to enter the country without being properly vetted and going through a legal process undermines our national security. And neighboring countries in the region, including Egypt and Jordan, should play a leading role in taking refugees. In other words, don't send them to Montana." Similarly, Sherrod Brown from Ohio says, quote, "The administration should be focused on reaching an agreement that ends the fighting, frees the hostages, and gets much needed humanitarian aid into Gaza." Read that, don't send them to Ohio. Other Democrats in tough races have spoken against this policy, including Jackie Rosen from Nevada, Bob Casey from Pennsylvania, and Congressman Elisa Slotkin, who's running for the Senate in Michigan. And now you have Democrats urging Biden to take some form of executive action to close the border. They realize they're losing the issue and they're starting to panic. What they'd like to see is him do something, but that'd be like closing the barn door after the horse got out. There are already, as I said, 10 million illegal immigrants in the country since Biden took office, and he resisted any effort by states to stop this flow. When the new Republican majority took office in 2023, they immediately passed H.R. 2. This was a strong immigration and border security bill. It was left on the calendar in the Senate, never even referred to a committee for hearings and discussion. Finally, early this year, the Senate tried to pass an immigration bill that had a few Republicans on it, but it was weak and did little to actually stem the flow of illegal immigration. That bill gave Biden the ability to let thousands cross the border on a daily basis before he'd be forced to take any action. But now they're seeing the public turn on them, and suddenly they want something done. These Democrats are worried. They won't consider the tough bill passed by the House, and so they hope Biden can take some kind of issue with it in order to allow them to say they took action. I would hope the public sees through this charade and says thanks, but no thanks. Perhaps if several of these vulnerable Democrats went home to live in their states and districts, they might actually get in touch with the people that live there. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.